Hey guys, here we go into a slightly requested film study on Chris Eubank Jr. versus George Groves, which is coming up this weekend. Which, you know, I used to watch George Groves a while ago, and I kind of got the impression that he was kind of a journeyman kind of type fighter, and he'd never really, be that great or whatever. And I just haven't watched a lot of his most recent fights. I saw the one that was on the undercard of Spence Brook, where he fought Chutinov, which is the fight that we're going to look at for our film study for him, even though this guy is nothing like Eubank Jr. It's not the point that I'm going to try to get across. But today we're going to be looking at Chris Eubank Jr. Versus, let's see what this guy's name is, Avni Yilidirim, however you say that, right? That boy. We're going to look at his film study. We're going to look at Chris Eubank Jr. And the interesting thing about him, like, it's so hard to put your finger on where his skills are. Chris Eubank Jr. has phenomenal tools. He's kind of like a British Roy Jones Jr. He's fast, he's athletic, he can throw punches from kind of weird angles, and he has these great flurries, and to be honest, most of the time it looks like he wins most of his fights with those crazy flurries, and it's really his athleticism that is pushing him to be a real contender in the boxing world. Now he's experienced, he can find holes, and he knows how to pick his shots really well. But as far as setting up his punches and defending himself and using a responsible defense, he has very few of these skills. We're going to kind of talk about him. We're going to go ahead and get into the fight. And I'm going to do the George Groves video tonight as well. I'll probably put them out at the same time. But we're going to talk about why it's so important. Now, right away, the first thing that we notice, Yilidirim is kind of closing the distance, and what does Eubank Jr. do? He gives him a hard, stiff jab, right? And then what does he do again? Boom, another hard, stiff jab. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people will say, oh, he's doing the right thing, and it's easy to say that when there's no penalty for you making this move, right? But it's very similar, and I talk about this a lot because it's one of the most brilliant examples in all of boxing is Sergey Kovalev versus Shabransky. I don't remember that boy's first name, but Shabransky. And Shabransky uses the same style to control his opponent to what is falsely narrated as maintaining the distance, And people talk about this all the time. You don't want to maintain the distance. You want to control the distance. And that doesn't mean making sure your opponent's always on the outside, but making sure that they're not able to use the space in between you and your opponent to set up their punches. You stop them from feinting, you stop them from probing, you stop them from using an active guard and slipping and finding a way inside to set up punches that you can't see or that you're not expecting, because you do the right thing to avoid the wrong punch. And Shabransky very infamously in that video uses a very stiff and hard jab against Kovalev to keep him on the outside, and that was his major tool. And in the leading up to that fight, which I was very excited for, I predicted that Kovalev was going to throw an overhand right over the top of that jab and knock him out, and that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what would happen if Chris Eubank Jr. right here was fighting Sergey Kovalev. He would shoot that stiff jab right there, very athletic, very quick, and he would get punched in the fucking face, and he'd get knocked out. Now, this is something that I do like from Chris Eubank Jr. This is something that I am a fan of, is a lot of the time when he does throw his wild flurries and his combinations, he has a responsible defense, right? He does stay on the line a lot of times with his opponent, right? But like Mayweather, right, after he throws a punch, he knows that he needs to move his head. He needs to move. He needs to slip. And here he kind of gives a roll and shoots out the back. He's still on the line, right? So a fighter that was as athletic as he was could chase him down and maybe put him in trouble. But the fact that he's so athletic means that there are very few fighters who are going to be able to do that. Now, we're just going to play some of this video. I'm going to talk a little bit about the only fighter that has given Chris Eubank Jr. any trouble. It's a fighter that was able to take his jab away, and that's Billy Joe Saunders. And I apologize. Let me break this down real quick. So feints him and then changes levels, right? And then gets his opponent to get into the high guard, and then closes the distance, you know? And I really like this. This is really crafty, you know, for fighting a guy like this. Look how he wraps his arm around his opponent's arm, right? And he's able to control it. Now his opponent can't throw any punches because he's smothering him, and he's able to break it and create distance and throws uppercut, right? And then immediately goes back to controlling him, pinning his arm up to his own face, and throwing another body shot. Right, and then, you know, doing a good job of using responsible defense to roll and move out of there, you know, and getting off the line, doing a good job there too. And only 10 seconds into the fight, you know, it's a good strategy against him. But Billy Joe Saunders, going back to Billy Joe Saunders, ooh, now look at him getting countered with the jab right here. So he shoots that jab, ooh, hard jab, gets countered and eats a jab right there because he's not setting up his jab, right? He's just throwing it, and any fighter who's fought, you know, even, you know, a day in his life or had even one fight, has trained on the punch mitts how to counter punch a jab, how to counter punch a right hand, how to counter punch a left hook, you know. And you just stand in front of your coach, and your coach throws a jab at you, and then you counter with the right hand or you counter with the jab, and you work on that to take away your opponent's tools, you know. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to set your punches up, because everyone's trained how to counter that stuff. Anyway, moving on. Billy Joe Saunders had a very successful run against Eubank Jr., winning their fight, and Eubank wasn't able to get his jab going because of the active guard. And I know this is a left-handed fighter, so it's a little different, and the jab doesn't work quite as well. But it stops Chris Eubank Jr. from, and this is beautiful right here, how he's able to shoot that jab, move off the line constantly, right, using responsible defense. And he's not just moving off the line a little bit, right? It's this deliberate feint him, get him into the high guard, and then start shooting that jab at him because he knows he's going to be in that high guard, and gets off of the line and retakes the center of the ring, you know. And then he shoots that little uppercut right there. We'll watch that one more time. Boom, boom, and then shoots that little uppercut, and then beautifully ducks the right hook or the left hook from his opponent. And then I don't really like the waist grabbing. You know, he doesn't really need to do that. But his coach probably hasn't taught him how to kind of take an angle and step around your opponent as well as you'd probably like. So that is a fine way of mitigating your opponent's offense. But anyway, back to Billy Joe Saunders. Eubank Jr. had a very difficult time using his jab against him. Not that Eubank Jr. was exactly countering it and able to take it away, but Eubank wasn't able to use his jab as effectively to set up his punches. Again, getting caught with the jab, not setting his jab up, right? And getting caught with another shot. But another reason that he had trouble is because he wasn't able to use his jab to close the distance so that he could throw as many flurries at Billy Joe Saunders as he likes to. And Chris Eubank Jr. is a flurry-style fighter, right? Like right here, what is he doing? Controlling the space, right? Like these are fine punches, right? He's able to bait the jab and slip under it and then get on the inside, right? But he's just controlling the distance. He's not really fighting his opponent. He's not really outboxing him. He's just like quote-unquote controlling the space between them, right? And then moving off the line. You know, there's not really a lot going on. You know, he's not setting up a right hand. He's not throwing uppercuts right there, right? But he's controlling his opponent and stopping him from pressuring him into fighting, right? And right here, he's just kind of wasting time, you know. Gets a little uppercut in there. It's not super clean because his opponent knows it's coming, right? Lands a body shot right there. You know, he's picking his punches well, right? But he's not setting any of these punches up, right? He was waiting for his opponent in that whole long clinch thing to take a backward step so he could catch him with the right hand. But he's not setting his punches up with the jab. And that's because Eubank Jr. is a kind of a flurry-style fighter. You know, like I was saying, he does pick his shots well, but like I said, not very good at setting actual punches up or breaking his opponent's guard. And again, you know, kind of getting caught right here. Not a great look for him. Boom, and I think he eats that right hand right there. Not the greatest defense, right? And it's interesting because he's not using his jab right here. I don't know why he's not using his jab right there like he was before to control the space. Maybe it's because he was getting countered with the jab by his opponent, and his opponent is taking away his jab, right? Which is something that I actually expect George Groves to be able to do, which is going to be really interesting. But again, you know, looking to break the guard, you know, he doesn't know how to set his punches up or make his opponent, you know, make mistakes. But his opponent's already got, you know, very one-dimensional, right? So it makes it easy for Eubank. I do like this, though, how after he shoots this shot, right, boom, and he ducks, and he's able to get under that hook and get away from these shots. I do like that. I think that's going to be very important for him against Groves, especially if he's using a jab like this, where Groves really shines, I think, is against his opponent's jabs. But again, you know, Eubank picking his shots well, looking flashy, shooting that right hand, that uppercut that might split the guard, right? But not feinting, not probing, not trying to make his opponent make a mistake, just kind of looking for timing, right? And then mitigating his opponent's offense by smothering him, you know, a form of control, right? But not setting punches up, not, you know, looking to make things happen, but looking to not allow his opponent to use a lot of offense so that it looks like he was the one that wins the round because he was more active, right? Now notice that Eubank hasn't really landed very many punches. I'm not even sure if he's landed like a right hand to the head yet. I know he's landed like 2 or 3 to the body, but his opponent landed a good one to the head. And it might be arguable that his opponent is winning the rounds in terms of damage, right? But because of the fact that Eubanks is smothering his opponent and not allowing him to work, and he's the one that's more active and giving him a quote-unquote boxing lesson, right? It makes it look like that he's easily winning the round as well, which I would argue he is as well. Getting under these shots, not the greatest defense right there, a little bit of smothering and then pushing him off to create space. But again, sticking to that jab hard, right? Throwing these punches, oh, now that is beautiful, right? Now we go back to picking his shots well, right? Look at how he sets this uppercut up, right? Commits to a hard jab, right? Commits to a hard right hand. Commits to a, excuse me, kind of a left hook. And that might be a probing shot, right? That left hook might be probing. Let's watch it in real time. Nah, it doesn't really look like a probing shot. Why does this look so fast, man? Is he just this fast? Man, that looks like it's in, it doesn't look like it's in real time. It looks like it's in super fast mode. But that's the real time. And Eubank Jr. picks his uppercut really well. You know, not super setting his shot up with like great boxing skills because he's in danger every time he throws one of those punches, right, from a counter punch. But because of his speed and his athleticism, it's very difficult for his opponent to time him, and he winds up timing his opponent beautifully with that uppercut and catching him with a great shot. Yeah, that is real time. Man, that is fast. Let's look at that again. Boom. Boom. He's so quick. But anyway, you know, not setting the shot up super well, right? Not with the feints and the probes to get him to make a mistake. But he does catch him in between punches, which is all you really want to ask from your opponent. It is dangerous if you're fighting an opponent with good power. Excuse me. Like if he was fighting Kovalev, right? Those would be very dangerous style of offense. And I would very likely just pick him to get knocked out. You know, again, picking his shots really well. He knows he's going to be in the high guard and then throws. Look at how many punches he throws to set up that left hand to the body, right? Very dangerous. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, right? To get him into the high guard. He could have been countered off of each one of those punches as he's committing to them. So just a little dangerous, you know, not exactly what you want to see from like a high-level guy. He's the kind of guy that, you know, he's going to win a lot of fights off of his athleticism and his speed and his power. He throws good punches, good combinations. But if he fought anyone that had the kind of athletic prowess that he does, you know, he winds up in a 50-50 fight. You know, and you never really want to be in a 50-50 fight. Now his opponent knows that when he throws punches, that Eubank is going to duck down. He's able to time him and walk him into that jab right there. And Eubank showing, you know, kind of a lack of defense right here. Even though for the most part I appreciate Eubank's responsible defense. Again, you know, setting his punches up the same way, picking his shots well, and then creating space after he throws to not allow his opponent into the round. And again, you know, rolling. This is great right here. This part is really great. His opponent throws 2 punches at him, and what does he do? He moves off the line. Look at this, you guys. Now, it's not often that you see somebody actually do this in an exchange, right? I talk about it a lot, but you don't often get to see the effectiveness when your opponent is throwing a combination at you, and you get to see someone move off the line and make someone miss like that. Beautiful right there. And then immediately closes the distance again to stop him and smother him. And able to get a break from the referee, right? But beautiful job moving off the line, off of his rotation of his hips, and avoiding any damage, you know, from this guy who's probably a pretty big puncher. I don't know. But you would imagine that he's a knockout kind of style puncher for someone who's, I don't want to say unathletic, but someone who doesn't really look like they're doing anything. Let's go ahead and get into round 2. I think we're going to do this whole fight. I think this fight is 3 rounds. But again, setting up his punches, picking his punches well, right? Now he does a good job of setting this punch up here with the jab, you know, flashing the lead hand and then going to the body and then controlling his opponent with his left forearm, right? But he does get tagged right there, right? So boom, boom, and then he controls him with his forearm here, right? And then throws another punch, but he stays on the line and winds up getting kind of caught with like a little cross, right? And then moves back. Again, shooting the jab, you know, committing to it hard. And I think that jab right there is going to be a big problem against Groves, and we'll see why in the next video with Groves when I talk about him. But then we'll also talk about a lot of the really worrisome things about Groves as well. But again, you know, Eubank coming in and has a great exchange with Avni. I'll just call him Yilidirim. Yilidirim lands a great body shot, but based off of basically his speed and his power, you know, his kind of explosiveness. You know, he picks the shot really well and gets a body shot in there. Uses responsible defense to duck the counter left hook. Stop that, motherfucker! Stop hitting me. We're at a break right now, kind of, you know. And then punches him in the back of the head. You don't want to see that ever, right? That's very dangerous. But again, you know, having trouble setting his punches up, I think. You know, committing to that jab, getting caught with a counter jab right there. And that's going to be something that's really interesting from Groves. Because although I don't like the way that Groves does it, and I watched a lot of freaking tape on Groves, and I'll talk about that when the Groves fight. The only people that have really beaten Groves are, I would say, like flashy or athletic guys, you know, like Carl Frock, you know, who's very flashy and very like wild and explosive. Not flashy, but explosive, you know. And Badu Jack, not the greatest at setting his punches up either, but very explosive, good power, you know. And those are the kind of guys that Groves has had trouble with, you know, that are able to catch him with shots that he doesn't see coming. Eubank sitting on the ropes, getting tagged up a little bit, you know, committing to that jab. And not a bad setup right there, you know, that's not bad, that's pretty good. Shoots a jab, probe, and then probing two so that he can throw that uppercut. Good responsible defense, ducking that left hook. Look at how he knew it was coming too, right? Boom, waits for it and rolls it, and then smothers his opponent and pushes him back. You know, now he's starting to set his punches up like pretty decently with this little probing jab right here. Kind of a 1-2, but only because now he knows how his opponent is going to react to the one, get in that high guard, and he's looking to catch him with the uppercut after he puts him in the high guard, you know. But if you're able to do that without committing to your shots, right, early on, you're not going to eat as many counters, and you can get free information from your opponent. Again, great job from him here, you know, baiting him with the right hand. His opponent thinks it's going to be a jab, feint the jab. He slips it and rolls it, and then when he's rolling it, he throws the 2. Again, great. He picks his shots very well and able to throw that uppercut again, and then responsible defense. He knows that hook is coming, so he rolls it, and then beautiful. After he rolls it, bodies up with him, right? Control him, controls his arms, pins him to his body, and then he pushes off and then rolls off so he knows that a right hand can't come. Remember when they were bodied up earlier in the first round and they were just waiting there and waiting and waiting? Eubank was waiting for Yildirim to take a step back so he could catch him with the right hand, you know, and here he is showing a responsible defense against the same possible tactic. Getting caught with the jab right there. You know, and this is why you want to control the space between you and your opponent. You don't want them to set their punches up because they get you out of position. You know, now he does a good job of getting Eubanks out of position, but he doesn't take advantage of it. You know, and he does it with a simple jab. Right, one of the first jabs I think I've even seen him, and then Eubanks thinks that the right hand is coming, so he could have thrown a left hook right there. He could have thrown an uppercut, right? Because Eubank has consistently ducked around the right hand, bending at the waist over his right side. Let's see, good feint from Eubank. Knows he's going to get into the high guard. Good responsible defense from Eubank, not waiting for punches to be thrown before he moves his head. And again, waiting for either the ref or waiting for an opportunity for space to be created. And I'm not sure, I can't really tell how he creates space right there, but he does get a right hand off right there. Very smart again. Sorry to make you watch it again. But after that uppercut comes, boom, he ducks and tries to get away from the left hook again because he thinks his opponent's going to throw 2 punches. You know, big fan of the responsible defense and the nature of Eubank Jr. I think it gives him a lot of explosiveness. The fact that he uses this technique so much means he's constantly transferring his weight defensively, which means that he's going to be better at transferring his weight offensively as well. And I think that the two, even though like offense and defense, you know, seem like they're very different, the way that you defend yourself and defend your opponent rely on the same basic tactics of transferring your weight. Oh man, and his opponent not really doing anything right there, and Eubank Jr. just going into a flurry, you know, just boom, throwing some combinations. You know, why did he throw that left hook? Why did he throw that right hand? You know, did he see something, or is he just kind of going wild? You know. How much of it makes sense from the film study that we've watched so far. And I think that that's the biggest point of contention with Chris Eubank Jr. is that there's not always a rhyme or reason to everything that he's doing. And sometimes, you know, right there I like that, how he tries to get under the jab from his opponent after shooting 2 jabs. And then again, bodying up with them to take away his offense. You know, this is not a tactic that he's going to use against George Groves, I don't think, because I don't think George Groves is the kind of puncher that's really going to be able to take advantage of that kind of defense, or that Eubanks is going to have a problem with. But again, you know, Eubank Jr. just getting on the inside and throwing punches, you know, gets him into the high guard right there off the jab, and then lets a right hand go, you know, probing kind of jab, and just kind of letting his hands go. Boom, another right hand around the guard, control him. Committing to a jab when he's super close, you know, you don't really want to see that. Probing jab, and even off his probing jab, just wanting to control the space, he winds up getting countered by another jab. And again, that's something I think Groves is going to be able to do very well. not bad right there. Jab, jab, and then feints the right hand. Now look at how he transfers his weight to his left leg and then gets him to open up for that left hook. You know, very good job from Eubank. And the way that he set this up is by actually committing to his right hand before, right? It is a probe, it is a feint, right? But it's not one where he's reading his opponent's movements. It's one where, because he's used this tactic before, right? He's thrown that right hand, he knows how his opponent's going to be reacting to it. He's able to set up punches off of that. You know, again, punch selection, right? Understanding, you know, your opponent's rhythms and patterns and stuff. It's very important, right? But it's one level deeper than feinting and probing, because you should start with feinting and probing and see where your opponent goes from there, because it's so much safer than committing to punches. And what Eubank has done to land that uppercut is commit to all his other punches to find out how his opponent's going to react to those, so he can set up his following punches, right? A very dangerous style of offense. Feinting again, controlling the space with the jab, ducking the right hand because he knows it's coming, and very Mayweather-like. This is exactly something that Mayweather used to do all the time: duck the right hand, right, and then body up with his opponent. You know, I think it started against Corrales. I think that's when he really started doing that. It might have been against Castillo. I'm not sure when the order of them actually fighting was, though. Oh man, that's crazy. I can't remember which one he fought first. But anyway, I think he fought Corrales first. But that was just a masterclass of a boxing match. Oh man. Again, you know, the same kind of tactic, you know, and it's working against his opponent. You know, this guy's not like the greatest fighter, right? But here we go again, getting on the inside, and then just, you know, kind of letting a flurry go and exchanging with his opponent. You know, and this is where Eubank, you know, might be in trouble, but it's also because of the fact that he does this, that he's such a dangerous fighter himself, that he fights this way, and that he's able to land, because he's such a great athlete, he's able to land these great hard punches, these fast flurries, and really, you know, put it to his opponent. So we're going to do this round this one last round. I think this is the last round. I hope so. But again, you know, not really setting these shots up, just kind of clinching them with on the inside and just letting punches go, you know, picking his punches well, and letting them go, but not setting them up. Again, is he setting these punches up, you guys? Right? He's doing a good job of like rolling and getting away from counter punches, but right there he lands a left hook, and he throws an uppercut, and then he just throws a left hook, and then a right hand. And there, he doesn't really need to set them up, right, because his opponent is not very mobile. His opponent doesn't have an active guard. His opponent isn't moving his head. You know, his opponent is very, you know, a very basic fighter, very, very, very basic fighter. He's what everyone thinks Golovkin is, you know. But look at Eubank Jr., you know, is he setting any of these punches up? Right? Shoots the jab, 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 trying to get him into the high guard, right? As soon as he gets him into the high guard, he starts letting power punches go and just going to town. You know, not moving off the line, not really defending himself, but he's got decent head movement, or changing of head slots while he's throwing these power shots, but kind of just getting wild and landing great punches. Oh shit, the guy, Avni, for a second there, he kind of looked like the Punisher from the new Punisher series. I'm watching that right now on my other VLCs right now. Good job right there, walking him into this left hook, right? Eubank stops, boom, feints him, makes him think a jab is coming, and then goes a left to the body. You know, good feint right there. All on the knowledge that when he throws his hard jab, his opponent goes into the high guard, right? So it's knowledge that he's gained from risking himself, or a very dangerous style of offense. Effective. It's effective, right? Like, don't get me wrong, you guys. It's effective. you know, but you wanna probe, you wanna get information from your opponent without having to put yourself at risk or minimizing risk. That's the idea behind 100% of my boxing theory. Good job right there, walking him into that that uppercut. Boom, makes him think that he's going to throw another jab, and then walks him into that uppercut. I'm not sure if it lands, right? Well, take a look at it one more time. But he makes him think he's going to jab and gets him to try to open up with a counter jab. Oh man, come on, are you kidding me? And makes him think that he's going to shoot a counter jab, and then goes in with that uppercut. Yeah, you can't really tell if it lands, but that's not important. It is a good setup, you know. And if Eubank hadn't used so many dangerous styles of offense to set these punches up, you know, these would be really impressive setups, you know, but you don't ever want to be picking up information from your opponent by exposing your chin or exposing yourself, which is the only, excuse me guys, it's the only thing that I don't like about Eubank so far. Again, in that funny clinch and da-da-da-da-da. We're going to skip this. Come on, bruh. When you going to knock this boy out? Ooh, good uppercut again. Off the jab. I think it's right here. Flashes the lead hand, knows that the counter's coming, throws a left hook, and then just starts going to town on him with these hooks, right? Not setting these punches up, you know, just kind of winging them, right? And this is why he's so dangerous, because his combination punching, he punches so fast, his hips, like the way that he's able to get his hips into every punch. Normally he has great balance, but he's just landing every single one of these punches. And again, it's because his opponent has no defense. You know, his opponent's head is always in one spot, so it's always easy to predict where his head is going to be. He doesn't move his head, and he just has, you know, poor defense, I guess is all you can say about it. But is he setting these punches up? No. He just knows where his opponent's head is going to be. He just knows that he can afford to throw combinations like this against this guy. Also because this guy's not the greatest counterpuncher. Although it does look like he kind of catches him with a pretty good left hook right here. Boom. And that might actually have hurt him a little bit too. Definitely knocks him off balance a little bit. But he knocks him off balance a little bit, right, as he pivots right here. And then he does a good job of pivoting in and shifting forward to mitigate the damage of it, and to get him out of range of his opponent's punches, and to smother his opponent again. And then again, just goes to town, starts throwing punches at his opponent. You know, and this is why Eubank is so dangerous. This is why this is going to be a really tough fight for Groves. Not because Eubank is very good at setting his punches up, not because Eubank has a good defense, not because Eubank is a tactician and understands how to set his punches up. It's because Eubank, he does pick his punches well, he does learn from his opponent very well, and he's able to find the openings. But the reason that Eubank, and this is such a tough fight for Groves, is because of these explosive flurries from Eubank. And we're going to have to see in the film study, the one that I'm going to do with Chutinov, how well Groves moves off the line, how often Groves finds himself in a position where he's eating combinations from his opponent, how often he's able to mitigate his opponent's offense and tie him up, and to keep him on the outside, because that's exactly where he's going to need to keep Eubank, is on the outside and not in a range where he can let off combinations like this, where he's throwing just crazy hooks, hook, hook, uppercut, and then another hook, another hook, another hook, another hook. You know, he's going to have to keep him on the outside, control the space so that Eubank isn't able to set up his punches at all or find openings against him and counter that jab. You know, it's going to be a very tough fight, a very tough fight. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get into the Groves video right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, and then go ahead and check out that Groves fight after. Thanks, guys.